Hello and welcome to Sacred Mysteries School of Spiritual Learning. I am Mignon Grayson, your host, and I will be discussing today ancestor altars and how to interact with them and what type of ancestor altar is what. There are variances in altars and what you do with them. Now, there are three types that I want to discuss today. It would be the ancestral altar, which is traditionally located on the floor. And then the next one is traditionally located on top of a table. And the other altar I want to talk about is a boveda. Now, it is not a ancestor altar per se, but ancestors can be involved in that particular altar. So let's get started. The ancestor altar that is traditionally on the floor is located on the floor in the corner where the two walls meet usually, and all of the ancestor items are set up on the floor, arranged in a particular way. Some things are standard, some things are based on feeling and flow. You would have your ancestor staff located there, and your pictures and everything that goes on your ancestor altar would be located there. So I'm not going to go into the particulars about what's located in that altar or what how you set that up, because that is taken care of in a previous video that I did, and I go into detail with that. But the purpose of this is to kind of discern what you do with each altar. Now, with the altar on the floor, I like to have mine on the floor. I sit on the floor. I divine at my ancestral shrine when I have questions for my ancestors, and I give the offerings, and they sit on the floor. Now, the thought behind the floor is that your ancestors are buried in the ground, and in some cases, they are buried underneath the house in Yoruba land, I am told. So the whole energy of them being buried there, the DNA and going back into the earth, places you in direct connection and contact with that. Also, when you think of it philosophically or as a principle, the earth is that which supports you, and your ancestors are those spirits that support you, and they are really near and dear, just like the earth. Now, the next altar, and that particular altar is for your bloodline ancestors and those who have passed away, who you considered family, because they acted as if they were family while they were alive. And you had that type of bond, you had that type of connection. The next altar I wanted to discuss is the ancestor altar that's located on top of the table. It's really the same as the one on the floor. However, it is on the table, and some people have that as a preference. That is traditional, but it's more recent. The original way to do it was on the floor, and due to modern day practices, that it is located on top of the table. But that has been happening for quite some time, so you can call it traditional now, because it's been that way for so long, hundreds of years. Now, that particular altar, the same thing, is for your blood ancestors, or those that you considered family when they were alive. Now, going down to speak to that whole thing of those who considered family, there are schools of thought that do not include people who are non-blood. But in the way that I've been taught to practice and been advised to practice by my elders in this tradition of Orisha tradition and ancestral reverence, it is those who are as family as well that can be included. Now, moving right along. Now, that particular altar is set up basically the same. You have your ancestral staff, which will lean on against that table or be in that particular, in the near vicinity. And with the one on the floor would be in the corner, in the vicinity of that one. Okay, so those two altars basically are for blood and extended family members. Now, moving on to another altar, which is called boveda. A boveda is a more recent occurrence in the practices of Lukumi and Palomayombe, of the diasporic versions of the Yoruba Orisha tradition. And it basically has its foundations in Spiritism, and Spiritism has a way of setting up a boveda, an altar. It's a table that's dressed in white cloth, and it's set up with glasses of water. It is a mediumship table. It is a table to commune with your ancestral guides. So not every ancestor is your ancestral guide. That is that ancestor, that spirit that's responsible for helping you to develop your spiritual mediumship, your psychic abilities, and your ability to intuit. And that is because you are working on behalf of others, the community, your family, or even a larger a pool of people. So they are charged with the responsibility of guiding you in that way and helping you uplift yourself and align with your destiny as well. Now, there are guys that are not bloodline family. They weren't incarnated into your family line, and they are spirit guides, and they are included in this boveda altar. The glasses on the boveda table, the number of glasses on the boveda table can be anywhere from 1 to 3 to 7 and 9. The most standard numbers are 7 and 9. 9 being representing the ancestors, the Egun, because 9 is the last number, the ending of the singular digit numbers, and the end of that cycle into a newer, higher cycle. So that's why we use the number 9 to represent the ancestors. Also, 7 is an extremely spiritual number and is used throughout all esoteric practices, spiritual practices. 7 is known to be extremely spiritual. And that's why those particular numbers are the most standard, but the others are used as well. Water is a conduit. Water is refreshing. It refreshes the spirits, and it also absorbs and takes up and takes on the energy that is put into that. And each glass on the table is dedicated either to refreshing and uplifting all of your spirit guides all at once. And in some practices, they actually dedicate each glass to a particular spirit group. So when the setup of it, you would dedicate to a particular spirit group. And so there are various ways you can set it up. I said the circle is one with larger glass in the middle, but there are other ways to set it up. You can set the glasses up in 2 lines, so do straight lines, a pillar with one in the center. And there are various ways of dedicating the glasses, but that's all, gets into too technical, and it really depends on, who you learn by, your house, your particular spiritual family. So anyway, so those are the 3 different distinctions between the altars that deal with your ancestors and your spirit guides that are your ancestors, and your spirit guides in general. Now, what I also wanted to address is that when we have someone in our family that has passed away, emotionally, we want to do something for them spiritually right away to help them cross over. And some people rush and put them on the ancestor altar. That is something that you should wait to do. Actually, some places, some beliefs are to wait a whole year before you even put your new deceased ancestor on the altar. And when I say put them on the altar, that means place their picture or their name, and you start to recite their names in the list of elevated ancestors who assist you. Now, when someone the reason for this is that when someone crosses over, there is a period of transition that the spirit has to reacclimate to being in the astral realm. So you don't want to pull them out of that reacclimation period. Some can be cocooned or, sort of in a state, and you don't want to pull, because being an ancestor that is active on your altar, they're working. They're coming back and forth through that portal. They're doing things for you. They're very active, working on your behalf. So you don't, and you're not only your behalf, but your family's behalf. So you don't want to pull that ancestor away from their transition. And how long that transition is depends on how they passed away and who they are as a spirit, how elevated, how, their development and all of that. So it's really no set time as far as I'm concerned. But for me, I like to wait at least 3 months. And then once the 3 months has gone by, then I use divination. I speak to the ancestors who are there on that side already, that are working on the family's behalf. So I will divine, and I'll ask if it's time to add that particular ancestor to the ancestor altar. And whenever they say it's good, that's when it's time and not before. What you can do for a recently deceased ancestor that will help them is to light a candle, recite their name, tell them how much you love them, tell them to journey well, to meet up with their ancestors, say prayers to uplift them, and send them love, and send them light, and send them energy and power so that they will have the strength to do what they need to do while they're in the ancestral realm. And that's it, and then over time they and they will become one of the ancestors that help you um, along your journey and help the rest of your family who still remain on earth. It's just another portal, another dimension that the ancestors reside. So they are just in the next dimension, beyond the veil, as a lot of people like to say, and they are not that far away. So they're ready to be by your side in an instant. Those are the distinctions between the different ancestral altars, and I hope this information helps you have a little more clarity and a little more information to do what you need to do to be invested in your ancestral reverence practices and to set up your boveda. I will do a video on setting up a boveda altar sometime down the line, so check back and see when that is up, or actually even better, hit the like button, hit the bell to be alerted for when new videos go up so that you can catch that information when it comes down the line. So thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. And until next time, be well, be blessed. Ashe.